Chapter 4, Effective Marketing Plans Made Easy. Marketing plans can be complicated and cumbersome to put together. After all, you're trying to align the prospect, the salesperson, and the marketer. However, there is a simple way to put the customer at the center and map the tactics that will help you create the success you are seeking. Oftentimes, leaders and marketers alike get caught up in the tactics. Instead of their asking, how do we leverage marketing to achieve our goals? I hear questions like, should we launch a new email newsletter? And should we be on Instagram? Or worse, a leader will hear about something someone else is doing and bring this idea to the team to execute. This is the epitome of throwing something against the wall and hoping it will stick. Some of your initiatives will work, but without a structured approach to marketing decisions, you won't know why. This is further complicated by the fact that every month, hundreds of new platforms, media outlets, influencers, technologies, and the like emerge to help you reach your target market. In 2011, there were 150 technologies available to sophisticate your marketing efforts. Today, there are more than 8,000 and growing. When you add the number of media outlets, events, digital platforms, and endless creative ways to distribute your brand name and message, the volume of options can feel less like a mountaintop from which to shout your name and more like a landslide that will suffocate you and your message. This is where your marketing plan should assist you, except that often marketing plans aren't actually helpful. You'll find an endless variety of explanations through Google for what should be in a marketing plan and how it should be formatted. But you're not looking for a pretty document. You're looking for a plan that keeps everyone on track to make money. Instead of a massive report that reads more like a business description than a marketing plan, your marketing plan should simply state who will buy from you, why they'll buy from you, and how you'll get that message to them so that they do buy. No more tomes collecting dust instead of dollars. Instead, I advocate for 2 documents that your marketing team should reference weekly, if not daily. You'll have a marketing strategy document that includes your buyer personas, key messaging, and brand truth as your decision-making criteria. We'll cover messaging and branding in chapters 5 and 6. And you'll have an actionable document outlining your outreach as your tactical marketing plan. Your marketing strategy should encompass your decision-making criteria. Your tactical marketing plan should show you how you will distribute your communication to your buyer personas. So, where do we begin? With buyer personas preferences, of course. People love to buy, but hate to be sold. This, in a nutshell, is why sales and marketing alignment is so critical, because the only way to be aligned is to be absolutely focused on the customer. Marketing and selling must bring value to the buyer. It's a shift in thinking, a shift away from specializing in your product and toward specializing in your audience. As we discussed in the previous chapter, the real goal is to sell what your market is actually and already buying. Individuals are not buying products, services, features, or even benefits. They are buying a change that will make their lives easier, happier, and more profitable. They are buying forward progress, period. Sounds obvious until you add the emotion behind revenue generation. Sales is the lifeblood of every company. If you can't close a deal, it doesn't matter how superior your mousetrap is. Sales is high stakes, not only because most salespeople's potential income is based on how much they sell, but because the stability and livelihood of everyone else at the company are also on the line. The sales life is one person going out there one day at a time, reaching out to one decision maker at a time, and closing one deal at a time, all while trying to hit an ever-increasing number. There is no finish line in sales, ever. Because of this, salespeople spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about how to be better than the competition, how to communicate value, and how to react to what a decision maker is saying, as well as focusing on doing anything it takes to move a prospect one step closer to a sale. Every conversation adds to their knowledge and arsenal of information to help them better advocate for their products, but it also makes salespeople insanely product-focused. Salespeople champion us. And this constant why choose us advocacy can make anyone myopic. But when you embrace the idea that you are helping people to be more successful, you are forced to change how you approach business development. Sales and marketing alignment means embracing throughout your entire organization a servant leadership mentality through which you teach your prospects how to make the best decision. Your legacy, in turn, will eventually be about the transformation you created for others. If you incorporate this endgame thinking into your day-to-day reality, it's not only the right thing to do for your market, it's the right thing to do to fulfill your potential and role in this world. It is a relief for people or buyers to make a choice and move forward. They cross something off their lists and move out of indecision and into progress. And here's the rub. Even though it's your product or service that creates the progress, it is your customer who gets and deserves the credit for it. As humans, we are the central characters of our own stories. So our business development approach needs to reflect this truth. This is the hallmark of world-class business development. In discussing his first principle in the book, Building a Story Brand, Donald Miller explains that the customer is the hero of the story, not your brand. When we position our customer as the hero and ourselves as the guide, we will be recognized as a trusted resource to help them overcome their challenges. Presentation and story expert Nancy Duarte teaches her clients to position themselves as Yoda and their clients as Luke Skywalker. The best marketers and sellers in the world recognize that you don't do the work or achieve the results. You guide buyers to a new place where they win the day. This approach is strategic, not tactical in nature. It requires the creation of an orchestrated series of sales engagements that confirm the prospect's need for improvement and teaches the client how to make a great decision. In the book Lean Selling, Robert J. Pryor advocates for a selling approach that eliminates any activity from the selling process that, from the customer's perspective, does not add value. He challenges, why is it that we provide a service to customers but not buyers? He goes on to explain that buyers and sellers have common ground on which to collaborate, and that it is possible for the seller to act like a coach to help the buyer make the best decision possible in the most efficient manner. Maybe this sounds obvious to you, but ensuring this is a reality throughout your organization is not so easy. Simply communicating these nice sentiments doesn't change sales behavior, and it doesn't improve marketing execution to better support sales. Why is alignment across sales and marketing and across the chasm from buyer to seller so difficult to achieve? Well, simply put, our natural inclination as humans to focus on our own needs and desires puts us at cross purposes when we communicate. Let's explore what this looks like based on what I've heard from different people in the buying-selling dance. When making a purchase, buyers progress through stages that we might characterize as follows. Awareness. I have a problem and I'm frustrated, and it's affecting my ability to do my work without hassle. What can I do, and how am I going to find the right time to figure this out? Consideration. I need options, and I'm figuring out on my own which ones might work for me. I don't want a salesperson wasting my time. Decision. I see the light and have a pretty good idea of what I want and how it'll make us more efficient and give us a competitive advantage. Now I just have to pick the right provider, build consensus, and not get screwed. To buyers, they are in control during the awareness stage because they are simply researching their problem. They are curious and maybe even excited that they are going to solve a problem once and for all. But as they progress through the process or move toward a final decision, they come closer to parting with their money and closer to potentially making the wrong choice. As their journey progresses, they move from excitement to fear. Salespeople, on the other hand, when trying to engage a buyer, enter the buying process more on the side of fear or discomfort. After all, cold calling can feel like nagging and interrupting. They can feel like they're a nuisance because the buyers don't yet prioritize their problem over other projects. But as the sales cycle progresses, the process gets more exciting and fun. This is what I hear salespeople say. Awareness. I hate prospecting and don't have time for this. I feel like my outreach just falls on deaf ears and only prevents me from working deals that are already alive. I know I need to keep the pipeline full, but I need to focus on my other opportunities. Consideration. I'm so excited to be speaking with the buyer because I know our offering is better than other options. Decision. I need to hit my number, and this deal is mine to lose. I hope they close before the month's end. The increase in anticipation is at odds with how the buyer is likely feeling. As the sales rep gets more excited, the buyer is getting more nervous. For marketers, building awareness campaigns can be fun, but trying to make the sales team happy can feel like grasping at straws in the dark. The work doesn't always feel fulfilling or effective. Worse, the organization is rarely able to correlate the direct impact of the marketer's work on the business, leaving them feeling undervalued. From marketers, I hear statements like these. Awareness. We have to get our name out there and build brand awareness. We have lead generation campaigns, social media, ad campaigns, and trade shows. What more does everybody want? Of course, I can't prove that a customer came from social media post. Consideration. We have email campaigns in place, but it doesn't seem like sales is working the leads we're sending them. We don't have enough followers or engagement on social media, and sales doesn't do anything to help share the content. But we do have traffic to our website. Oh, brother, sales is asking me for more case studies, but they haven't given us any success stories. Decision. Please use the most up-to-date proposal template. They are breaking our brand guidelines. But here's the key. What might look like a natural and unsolvable problem of human nature actually represents a huge opportunity to structure your business development in a way that aligns these points of view. More important, this alignment will be dramatically different from how your competition is selling. Let's look more closely at these different points of view and how you can align the buyer's journey, the sales cycle, and your marketing plan. It's critically important for you to understand that your prospects and clients are building a singular relationship with your company, not one relationship with sales and another with marketing. Your buyer's touch points or brand experiences will come from different sources, but they will add up to a single story. For instance, they Google their problem and read one of your articles. They attend a trade show and speak with one of your reps. They receive an email from your company and unsubscribe. When they are finally ready to interview providers, they ask peers and do more Googling. When they speak to a new sales rep, they confess that they can't remember where or how they know your name. After they have an initial call, they hit your website and look through any follow-ups the sales rep sends. As they get closer to a decision, they will continue to bounce among information from your sales, your website, any collateral pieces that are applicable, customer service or inside sales, and all the other marketing nurture points. This culminates into one single judgment about whether your company is worthy of their business and loyalty. Ask yourself whether you feel confident that every touch point tells a consistent, helpful, and fascinating narrative orchestrated to help them make a great decision for their business. Or does it feel more like the chaos in the graphic? For most companies, each of these touch points is functionally separate. Inconsistency causes confusion, whether conscious or not, and it slows down decisions and waters down your ability to stand out from the competition. It's time to untangle the spaghetti. The buyer's journey centers around the question, how do I get from this frustrating place to a better future state? Buyers don't care ever about your product. They care only about their lives with it versus without it. But what about a marketing cycle? We have a sales cycle and a buyer's journey. In theory, the marketing cycle is based on the buyer's journey, but not all consumer behavior, whether B2B or B2C, is linear. This is one of the challenges of marketing alignment, because without consistent words or even an openly acknowledged process you're driving forward, marketing can often feel like a never-ending experiment, one that permanently lacks any definitive set of insights. As I mentioned in the introduction, my definition of marketing boils down to evoking desire in a specific audience, which leads to a sale. My next statement is likely to invite argument from my counterparts, and I say, bring it on, because these discussions need to happen. So here goes. If we simplify how marketers evoke desire in a target audience, they basically have two tracks they must focus on. One, the buyer's journey, and two, the comprehensive brand experience. The buyer's journey is shown here in the traditional AIDA model: awareness, interest, desire, and action. While there are evolved versions of the model, the original suits our purposes for this discussion. At the top of the funnel, you see awareness, which I relate to market potential. At the second level of the funnel, you see interest, and I refer to interested people as suspects. At the third level of the funnel, you see desire, which represents prospects. And at the bottom of the funnel, you see action, which translates to new customers. Marketers must develop messages and tactics to distribute to a wide audience of strangers, to build awareness or visibility of their company and offering, generate interest in that offering, and evoke enough desire and trust that buyers take action and make a purchase. All of this work is predictive. Marketers study the market and buyers to make educated guesses about what will motivate people's buying decisions. This is the logic side of the equation. Then marketers must manage the comprehensive brand experience. The brand strategy and customer experience really overlay AIDA and encompass the entire buying experience, from initial impression to customer delight and referral. Marketers must translate buyer insight into messages, i.e. words, visuals, and experiences that are distributed or advertised across multiple media, both online and offline. Evolve to match the stage the buyers are in to nurture their interest, and then set up and track the data to test effectiveness, all typically without there ever being in front of a single prospect or customer. This is the emotion side of the equation. Thus, marketers can get very focused on tactics, individual projects, and their individual metrics because there is a lot to juggle, and just getting every piece out the door and working cohesively is a mammoth undertaking. So here, again, we see myopia because it's easier to get bogged down in the details than it is to return to looking at the system holistically to test for alignment with the buyer's emotions and the salesperson's actions. And when push comes to shove, marketers tend to align with buyers but miss the implications of the selling side. We see this in B2C commercials where the storyline is touching or hilarious, but the viewer later can't remember the actual brand behind the creativity. We also see this in B2B where the calls to action are murky at best or missing completely. Thus, even if the buyer is curious, the lack of a clear next step fails to capitalize on the buyer's interest. The marketer forgets to guide the prospective buyer one more step toward the sale. So let's look at how we, as guides, can map out a path for our customers while considering all three perspectives. Using the sales cycle as a map. While different sales training systems might use different semantics and a different number of phases, every sales cycle can be simplified into 3 phases. It's the salesperson's job to 1, generate interest, 2, build trust, and 3, close the deal. But the sales cycle has a sales point of view. In each phase, it instructs the action that the company or its representatives should take in order to bring in revenue. Attract, build, close. These are all words that prioritize the seller. This perspective is not customer-centric. What can get lost is the real thing a prospect is actually buying, such as peace of mind, lowered risk, time, competitive advantage, confidence, or money. There is always a time and a place to talk specifics and details, but you should never lose sight that your offering has to create a transformation from problem to solution for every single prospect. The answer is to put the customer in the center of the sales cycle and map out what the salesperson needs to provide as they journey together toward a decision. This means you create a map of tactics, processes, and tools for each of your buyer personas. Begin by choosing one of your buyer personas and drawing out the 3 stages of the sales cycle. The key is to look at what the prospect is doing, not what the salesperson is doing. In the print version of this book, this is depicted graphically as a circular cycle with 3 sections used to organize these principles visually. In the first phase, generate interest, you need to identify the channels through which your prospect may have heard about your company and what is happening in this person's world that made him or her curious about your offering. The prospect has become aware you exist. So what are you doing in your business development activities to intentionally drive awareness? In sales language, you're generating interest. In your customer's language, they're becoming aware of their problem and possible solutions. Write down those tactics outside the generate interest portion of the graphic. Here's a sample of tactics you might use to generate interest. Advertising, search engine marketing, e.g. Google Ads, search engine optimization, cold calling, trade shows, sponsorships, referral programs, direct mail, signage and outdoor advertising, radio, TV, social media, public relations. Anything that puts your name in front of people who might buy from you to attract their interest belongs in this phase. For your planning, you will want to write down the tactics, tools, and actions for generating interest right on this specific section of the graphic. If you have ideas or plans for things you should implement, add them also. Next, we move on to build trust. This is where the prospects confirm in their own minds that you have a relevant solution they are interested in and that you are who you say you are. The buyers are now actively engaged in consideration of your product or service, and they want to make a good decision. They're asking themselves, are you who you say you are? And looking for proof that you can be trusted. So if the sales language is to build trust, then the customer language is consideration of their options. There are many tactics that serve to help you demonstrate worthiness, and the options range based on your industry. But here are a few examples. Website, video, demos, sampling, testimonials, case studies, white papers, research studies, awards, or recognition. Close the deal is self-explanatory. Your prospect chooses to do business with you. When executed well, this phase is a point of relief for both parties. The win for the salesperson is obvious. The buyers, on the other hand, are finally moving forward to solve a problem. But their journey is far from over. A new phase of their journey is just beginning, and it brings all types of new emotions and risks, like buyer's remorse, fear, change aversion, change management, as well as finding time to implement the product or service, rolling it out to their team, gaining internal buy-in, and dealing with the actual implementation of your solution. Here again, the sales language is to close the deal, but the customer language is to make a decision. This is most clearly the phase that the sales team owns. However, marketing can play a pivotal supporting role. So what tactics or tools are used in closing the deal? Proposals, live demos or free trials, objection handling, frequently asked questions, technical review or audit, requests for proposal responses, diagnostic tools or assessments, terms and conditions, documented sales process, pricing, onboarding documents. The reason we do this is so we can visualize the tactics matched to their roles in the buyer's journey. You can see where the bulk of your efforts are being applied and ask yourself whether your tactical decisions are appropriately aligned with the right challenges you face in reaching your market. Are your marketing and sales dollars solving the correct problem? What you now have in front of you is your tactical marketing plan in a visual and useful format. But we're not done yet. We need to take a closer look at the execution of these tactics themselves and identify whether they are effective. Exchanging more than money. As you consider the buyer's experience of these tactics, it's critical to note that money you receive for your product or service is not the only transaction occurring. 2 additional exchanges happen in the sales cycle. These exchanges push the buyer toward a decision and serve as the guiding criteria in tactical execution. Buyers are not idly sitting around waiting for something to catch their eye or spending hours reflecting on their need for your product. They are carrying on with their busy lives, buried in current projects, priorities, and personal agendas. In all our business development activities, we are actually asking our prospects to pull from one of their stores of limited resources: time, attention, and money. All 3 are either budgeted or squandered, and they add up to the quality of life a person leads. You are asking people to part with finite resources that they can never recoup in order to prioritize your message and your company name above everything else on their plates at that moment in time. The exchange you're offering had better be good. Let's take a look at each exchange. In the generate interest phase, you are asking a prospect to pay attention. You must create a message that is worth such a payment. I find that generally people pay attention to 2 things in marketing. 1, an empathetic experience. This is something that taps into their emotions and humanity and is a welcome break from their current activity because of the feelings you evoke. Think of humor, tearjerkers, curiosity, or intrigue, e.g. Bud Light commercials, movie trailers, celebrity sponsorships, etc. 2, validation. This happens when what you say confirms that the struggles they face or their experiences are not unique to them, and instead shows your prospects that they are not alone. Their challenge is not one of their own shortcomings, but a solvable external problem. Both of these provide an emotional experience aligned with either who they are, their identity, or what they believe, their point of view. You are talking to them about them. When attracting interest, you are asking for their conscious awareness and approval. This is the attention exchange. What are you offering that is so good they are willing to pay you from their bank of attention? This is the most difficult and expensive exchange, but without it, you cannot scale growth. The exchange is attention for emotion. If marketers are effective at achieving a great attention exchange, buyers will remember your name and what problem you solve, and will begin to associate their feelings with your brand. When you apply the tools, tactics, and processes and generate interest, the execution must be about the emotion of their situation. Once the attention exchange has occurred enough times and aligns from a timing standpoint with the buyer's needs or wants, the next phase begins: build trust. In the sales cycle language, the verb is active, to build, as if it's something that one can do alone. But trust doesn't work like that. Maybe we use the word build because we'd like to think of trust as bricklaying, putting one credible act on another until a trust is built. But the reality is not like this. If you're building a wall with the proper tools and skill, the wall will eventually be erected. You simply lay one brick at a time. But if you're working to build trust, the other party can refuse your efforts. Imagine if you laid one brick at a time and someone stood right in front of you and removed the brick that you just laid. If the other person won't agree to leave the bricks in place, you might never build your wall. In short, trust requires collaboration. Both parties must build, placing trust in each other or extending trust to each other. Going back to our wall metaphor, you can extend the brick to the person before you, but it is he or she who must choose to lay it. So when you are wanting to build trust with people, what are you asking of them? You're asking them to spend time in exchange for your expertise and guidance. The prospects in this phase acknowledge they have a need or a desire that you can fill. And as a provider, you are an expert on how to make the best decision to fulfill that need or desire. You have the ability to teach them how to be successful in this decision. Spoiler alert, this is not selling. It's teaching. But more on that later. You're asking them to spend time. Even our everyday words express the depletion of finite resources. You provide education and insight. They pay for it using their time to review your information. The exchange is time for insight. When you apply the tools, tactics, and processes and build trust, the execution must be about delivering insight to help prospects make the best decision possible for their situation. Once the buyers have solidified their decision to make a purchase and you have proven your ability to solve their problem, we move into the close the deal phase. Again, you'll notice that the verb is simple command. Close the deal. Sounds as simple and straightforward as closing a door. But of course, this is not the case. You're asking buyers to part with their money in exchange for your product or service. In making this ask, the salesperson must provide encouragement and reassurance. This is the place for not fear, but total confidence. Addressing concerns and final questions calmly and clearly, reassuring the buyers of their good decision-making, and focusing on the rosy future of success will help to remove fear. These are the tools you bring to the table in this exchange. The buyer should feel confident that moving forward is better than inaction and that you are capable of orchestrating this change. You're asking buyers to move from spending time to spending money. The buyers have a sunk cost in the time they have already committed to you to make this decision. So you could look at the close as two exchanges. One, questions for confidence. Two, money for product. When you apply the tools, tactics, and processes and close the deal, the execution must focus on removing buyers' fear, preventing buyers' remorse, and setting buyers up for success after they sign the contract. At each stage of this unified approach, the buyers are central. Who are they? What are they experiencing right now? And what do they need to make progress? The salesperson reaches out to act as a liaison throughout the process, and marketing anticipates, develops, and distributes messages and tools to support this collaborative decision-making process. If you look at the graphic, you'll see that on the outside are two phrases to remind us of the buyer's emotion. On the right side of the cycle is create excitement. The buyer feels relief and possibly excitement at finally solving a cumbersome problem. In these early stages, there's little risk, so it's comfortable for the buyer. However, as you progress and near close the deal, you read remove fear. This is because the investment is increasing and more doubts and concerns are creeping into the decision-making process. It is the seller's responsibility to help the buyer clearly identify the sources of concern and fear and honestly address them, collaborating on the solution. The best doesn't always win, but the best at removing fear does. When you use your sales cycle to map out how you guide a prospect to a decision, marketing and sales are not only on the same page, but walking the walk of servant leadership before the sale has even been made, setting the stage for an amazing customer experience and even customer loyalty. Additionally, because your entire system is focused on providing prospects with what they need when they need it, you make the sales process more efficient and often can speed up the time to close because you're not cluttering the process with unnecessary meetings, presentations, or information. Finally, if you have a vision or mission statement that extends beyond your corporate goals, this approach becomes missional because you can create impact and influence far beyond your customer base. In this approach, outstanding customer service begins before an invoice is issued. We just talked about using your sales cycle as a map. So now let's talk about how to make sure you've identified the right tactics and explore some things you may not have thought of. It's time to put your marketing plan together. Remember, your buyer personas form the foundation of your decision-making criteria. Your tactical marketing plan is your way to analyze options, prioritize the tactics that are right for you, and set your plan in an organized format to work from. After years of writing marketing plans, I've moved to a spreadsheet format for the tactics because it's actionable. You can download the template at daciacoffey.com. Looking at the far left column, you'll see that the marketing plan organizes the rows into the same phases we outlined in sales mapping. Then, looking to the right, you'll see the second column has space to enter the tactics themselves, along with a column for prioritization and columns where you can enter the buyer personas. Recall your buyer personas and record one as the title for each of these columns. Place the tactics, tools, and processes you identified in the sales mapping activity in column 2 with the appropriate phase. Once you've entered all the tools and tactics, put an X under the buyer persona that this tactic is designated for. So, several of your tactics will be appropriate for multiple buyer personas, while others will only be right for one. This helps you think through the execution of these tactics and, to some degree, your prioritization. When a tactic aligns with multiple buyer personas, recognize that this means you may need multiple campaigns in order to align the right message to each persona. Once this is done, use an ABC rating system in column 3 to review each tactic and considering which ones must be done first and are most critical in the short term. If a tactic aligns with multiple buyer personas, this might indicate that it's more important or effective than others, but that's not always the case. You can decide whether it will have a great impact on your goals. This format simply helps you to think critically in your decision making. How do I know if we missed something? The worry that there may be a breakthrough idea that your team didn't identify can feel stressful. How do you know that you got the plan right? Well, first recognize that your focus on buyer personas and your consistency will lead to results and improvements. It's never one particular idea that will make or break you. However, we do want to avoid business as usual thinking when putting these plans together. Usually, during the sales mapping, the new way to look at the progression through the sales cycle brings up new ideas and areas of inefficiency. But now it's time to step back and review the plan you've outlined to think creatively and critically about where the current hurdles are in your business development. In Generate Interest, do you have enough visibility in your market? What is your competitive landscape? When you review the tactics, does your plan adequately address your need? If you already have significant name recognition, are you leveraging this? And where are the real bottlenecks? Where or why are you losing prospects? And build trust. Do you have good traffic to your site but no conversion? Are you able to get initial meetings with prospects but they stop responding to follow-ups and never move forward? Are your opportunities progressing through the pipeline in a predictable and efficient fashion? Or do your sales projections constantly push to future dates? Do you have issues with not getting buy-in at the top? During the close the deal phase, why are you losing deals? Where do you see frustration, friction, or delay from prospective customers? Are you losing work to unworthy competitors, or are you losing it because of indecision? You'll want to think through the problems that are holding you back right now so you're clear on where to focus your time, attention, and money. When you narrow down the problems, you can hold additional brainstorming sessions or call on experts to reimagine how you approach these challenges. When you're building your tactical marketing plan, you must balance both long-term and short-term goals. Often, rapid results come not from the launch of a new idea, but from the optimizations of current efforts, such as improving targeting or conversion techniques, implementing sales training, catering messaging to specific buyer personas, and the like. Review your plan and consider whether the tactics you have identified address the issues harming your progress, in addition to achieving the goals you've set. You will likely find a few places where you'll need to incorporate additional tactics or new ways to improve your overall business development effectiveness. Leaving no stone left unturned. I looked at 2 simple frameworks to help you ensure no stone is left unturned. 1, the 7 fundamentals of a healthy marketing mix, and 2, earned, owned, and paid media channels. A final assessment of your plan can include reviewing the fundamentals of a healthy marketing mix and asking yourself whether you've missed anything in each of these areas. At the end of the day, every single one of your options will still fall within one of the 7 different categories. You can look at these elements and determine which areas you are strong or weak in to further validate the plan you are building. 1, strategy. 2, brand. 3, website. 4, advertising. 5, digital marketing. 6, events. 7, sales and marketing alignment. The first 3 fundamentals make up your total strategic platform. The other 4 fundamentals are about distributing your message to turn strangers into prospects and prospects into clients. Can you see areas in which you need to be stronger and have those been addressed in your plan? The Marketing Blender has built an assessment you can take to help you identify where you stand today. You can find it at themarketingblender.com/assessment. The second framework is related to your media mix and is common language to many marketers. This framework allows you to review the tactics in your generate interest phase, which is critical as this is the most expensive aspect of your business development and where a lot of waste and lost ROI can occur. You want to look at the balance in your tactics across earned, owned, and paid media channels. What are these? Earned media is publicity or exposure that you didn't pay for. This includes non-paid endorsements by influencers, shares and engagement on social media or forums, and mentions or appearances in magazines, on TV, or on blogs. Owned media is anything you have direct control over. Your website and the content you create, e.g. blogs, videos, webinars, podcasts, case studies, assessments, emails, search engine optimization, etc. Paid media is, of course, advertising you pay for, and it includes paid search advertising, ads on social media, print ads, commercials, sponsored content, sponsorships, and paid endorsements. By considering the blend of earned, owned, and paid media, you can oftentimes think creatively about avenues that you may not have considered in each of these categories. Once you have reviewed and identified additional ideas, add them to the appropriate phase in the spreadsheet and prioritize your tactics. Remember, every one of your marketing tactics exists to increase your current and future sales opportunities by impacting buyers during the different phases of their decision-making process. Your goal is to design a robust ecosystem through which your prospects can engage with you and find tremendous value during each engagement. It takes time and focus to create this ecosystem, and you must have room for evolution and improvement. I want to add one reminder. No matter how diligent you are in this ideation, you may not think of everything, and you won't be aware of every possible option. That's okay. But when you put your plans in the framework I've outlined in this book, your results will improve. The key is to be clear on what problems you are solving in your business development approach and to be intentional about going after them instead of just chasing random tactics. Now that your plan is in place, it's time to execute it. And the remainder of the book will focus on how to be irresistible and incomparable in your market. The rear view mirror. Putting the customer at the center of the sales cycle is critical. You can use your sales cycle to visualize or map what tactics you have in place and what they should be accomplishing while you maintain alignment of the buyer, the salesperson, and the marketer. Each phase of the sales cycle, generate interest, build trust, close the deal, aligns with a specific exchange that should direct your execution of the tactics, processes, and tools. To build your marketing plan, you need to put your tactics from the sales mapping exercise into a usable format. This is your tactical marketing plan. Match your buyer personas to your tactics and prioritize them based on your goals. To ensure you've considered the full range of your options, use the 7 fundamentals and the earned, owned, and paid frameworks to brainstorm additional opportunities to improve your business development. Crafting your customer-centric approach before formal engagement can improve sales, set the stage for an outstanding customer experience, and increase your impact on the business world at large.